कृष्ण माता जी।
You can see the screen, right?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can see.
Yes, Prabhu.
So we'll sing first and then we'll go through the translation later.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More तुम बिना के दयालु जगत संसारे
तुम बिना जगत संसारे
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे
पतित पावन हेतु तव अवतार
पतित पावन हेतु तव अवतार
मुसमापतिता प्रभु न पाइबे आरा
समपतिता प्रभु न पाइबे
महाप्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी
महाप्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी
कृपा बालोकान আমি বড় দুঃখী
कृपा बालोकानां करो আমি বড় দুঃখী
দয়া করো সীতাপতি অদ্বৈত গোসাই
दया करो सीतापति अद्वैत गोसाई
तब कृपा बाले पाई चैतन्य निताई
तब कृपा बले पाई चैतन्य निताई
स्वरूपानाथना रूप रघुनाथ
स्वरूपनाथन रूप रघुनाथ
भट्ट जुग श्री जीव प्रभु लोकनाथ
भट्ट जुग श्री जीव प्रभु लोकनाथ
दया करो श्री आचार्य प्रभु श्रीनिवास
दया करो श्री आचार्य प्रभु श्रीनिवास
रामचंद्र संघ मघे नरोत्तम दास
रामचंद्र संग मगे नरोत्तम दास
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo
तुम बिना के दयालु जगत संसारे
तुम बिन के दयालु जगत संसारे
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama
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 Rama Hare Hare
Jai 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 Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol.
So we'll read the translation one by one. Mataji, can you read?
Yes, Mother Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. My dear Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than you, your Lordship, within these three worlds? Shall I read the second one also?
Other Mataji can read.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, ma'am.
My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be merciful to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me.
Sixth one. Vedamani.
Fifth one, Prabhu. Fifth one, Prabhuji. Fifth one.
Fifth, Mataji, we generate. Okay, you can read.
Gaura's love embodiment is shown by Gadadhara Pandita, Srinivasa Pandita, and Haridasa Thakura are the ocean of mercy. Hare Krishna.
O Swarup Damodar, personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya, O six Goswamis, O Shri Rup Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Shri Jeev Goswami, and Shri Raghunath Das Goswami. O Loknath Goswami, my beloved spiritual master, Narottam Das also prays for your mercy.
O Srinivas Acharya, successor to the sixth Goswami, please be merciful to me. Narottam Das always desired the company of Ramchandra Chakravarti.
Hare Krishna. So here, like in the fourth stanza, we have this one. Daya karo Sitapati Advaita Gosai. Tava kripa bale pai Chaitanya. Right. So when we will get, when Advaita Acharya will be merciful to us, merciful on us, then only we can get the kripa or mercy of Chaitanya and Nitai. So Nityanand Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy we can get only when Advaita Acharya is merciful to us, when we can please the Advaita Acharya. Basically, we know that Advaita Acharya is the one of the reason, or he called Lord to this material world in this Kali Yuga, right? So he prayed to Lord Chaitanya to descend himself in this Kali Yuga to give the mercy, or to to deliver the fallen souls, right? So this bhajan is or very nice bhajan is written by Narottam Das Thakur, and Shri Narottam Das Thakur is praying to Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityanand Prabhu, Lord Advaita Acharya, and all the six Goswamis and all the senior Acharyas of Narottam Das Thakur, right? His spiritual master Loknath Goswami, and all the Acharya to get to give their mercy upon him, so that so Narottam Das Thakur became the instrument to write this very nice bhajan for us, so that because he is the elevated soul anyway, but he has written very nice bhajans for us, so that we can sing these bhajans and we can remember Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityanand Prabhu, and we can always get mercy from them. So this so today is like from today, like Advaita Acharya's appearance is there, and then in next week we have Nityanand Trayodasi, Nityanand Prabhu's appearance day, 3rd of February. Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Anshika. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So just discussing bhajan. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo Maharaj. We just sang and we were discussing the meaning of that bhajan. So it's very nice bhajan. We can pray, we can sing this bhajan, and we can pray to all the acharyas, all the basically Panchtattva, and all the all our senior acharyas, right? And Shad Goswamis, and with that we can get their mercy. So okay. So we'll start our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. Before that, we'll just start with the Mangalachara. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuda Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate
Srimati
Bhakti
Bhakti
Vedanta
Vedanta
Swami
Swamiti Namini
Namaste
Namaste
Saraswate Deve
Sate Devi
Gauravani Pracharini
Gauracha
Nirvishekha
Nirvisenya
Ashate Veshadha Jai Shri Krishna
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhar Prasadi
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Hare
Rama
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Kam karoti vacha. Hare Krishna. Okay, so Anshika knows Mangalacharan. Very nice. Memorized it. Thank you everyone for joining. Shobha Mataji also joined my Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, where were we in the introduction? Prabhuji, you remember? Yes, we were discussing the, I think, Bhattacharya's teaching, or he was giving Mayavad philosophy to Lord Chaitanya, right? So, did we cover this part completely?
Lord Chaitanya started speaking.
Actually, just starting.
There,
Okay, Lord was himself.
he told that, it's not like whatever, it's okay, but it is like your interpretation.
Okay. So yeah, I think we have read from Srimad Bhagavatam introduction that Lord Chaitanya has taken the sannyas and he is in Jagannath Puri, right? And he is in Jagannath Puri and he met uh, Shri Bhattacharya, right? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya there, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was teaching him Vedanta philosophy, and the Lord was just sitting quiet for 7 days. He was hearing and listening, right? And I think Nishant Prabhu also covered this, that it's very difficult to listen, basically, right? Continuously when 7 days, and but Lord Chaitanya is patiently hearing, right? And then the Bhattacharya, being a vastly learned man, could follow the Lord's secrecy remark on the popular Vedantist. He therefore asked him why he did not ask about any point which he could not follow. The Bhattacharya could understand the purpose of his dead silence for the days he heard him. This showed clearly that the Lord had something else in mind. Thus, the Bhattacharya requested him to disclose his mind. So here, Lord then started speaking, right? Upon this, the Lord spoke as follows. So we'll read from here.
He had covered paragraph. After that, then stop.
Okay, so we'll start from here. The Lord does, or we covered many other. The idea that one cannot say this interpret. This week we have not covered it, right? The examples. Yeah, I think it's fine. We can read from this. So this is it. Okay. Somebody online can want to read? Hema Mataji,
Yes,
want to?
Prabhuji, shall I read?
I'll read.
Shall I read? Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
Hema Mataji.
Yes,
I'll
Prabhuji.
read, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Okay, Hema Mataji, you can read. Then Kalpana Mataji, you can read next.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Upon this, the Lord spoke as follows. My dear sir, I can understand the meaning of the sutras like Janmade Asya Yatha Sastra so Yonitat and Athato Brahma Jutnasa of the Vedanta Sutra, but when you explain them in your own way, it becomes difficult for me to follow them. The purpose of the sutras is already explained in them, but your explanations are covering them with something else. You do not purposely take the direct meaning of the sutras, but indirectly give your own interpretations. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, Kalpana Mataji.
Yeah. The Lord thus attacked all Vedantists who interpret the Vedanta Sutra fashionably according to their limited power of thinking to serve their own purpose. Such indirect interpretations of the authentic literatures like the Vedanta Sutra are hereby condemned by the Lord. The Lord continued, Srila Vyasadeva has summarized the direct meaning of the mantras in the Upanishads in the Vedanta Sutra. Unfortunately, you do not take their direct meaning, you indirectly interpret them in a different way. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Next, Adita Mataji would like to read.
Yes, Prabhu. The authority of the Vedas is unchallengeable and stands without any question of doubt. And whatever is stated in the Vedas must be accepted completely. Otherwise, one challenges the authority of the Vedas. The conch shell and the cow dung are bone and stool of two living beings. But because they have been recommended by the Vedas as pure, people accept them as such because of the authority of the Vedas. Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. You can continue.
Will I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji.
The idea is that one cannot set his imperfect reason about the authority of the Vedas. The orders of the Vedas must be obeyed as they stand, without any mundane reasoning. The so-called followers of the Vedic injunctions made their own interpretations of the Vedic injunctions, and thus they established different parties and sects of the Vedic religion. Lord Buddha directly denied the authority of the Vedas and he established own religion. Only for this reason, the Buddhist religion was not accepted by the strict followers of the Vedas. But those who are so-called followers of the Vedas are more harmful than the Buddhists. The Buddhists have the courage to deny the Vedas directly, but the so-called followers of the Vedas have no courage to deny the Vedas. Although indirectly they disobey all the injunctions of the Vedas, Lord Chaitanya condemned this.
I think these portions we have covered, but that's why I'm not explaining this. We will just read and continue. Yeah. Mataji, you would like to do? Example given.
Yes. The examples given by the Lord of the conch shell and the cow dung are very much appropriate in this connection. If one argues that since the cow dung is pure, the stool of a learned Brahmana is still more pure, his argument will not be accepted. Cow dung is accepted and the stool of a highly posted Brahmana is rejected. The Lord continued, the Vedic injunctions are self-authorized, and if some mundane creature adjusts the interpretations of the Vedas, he defies their authority. It is foolish to think of oneself as more intelligent than Srila Vyasadeva. He has already expressed himself in his sutra, and there is no need of help from personalities of lesser importance. His work, the Vedanta Sutra, is as dazzling as the midday sun, and when sometime someone wants to give his own interpretations on the self-effulgent sun like Vedanta Sutra, he attempts to cover the sun with the cloud of his imagination. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anybody else online want to read? Okay. So
I continue.
Amrita Mataji will read. Yeah.
The Vedas and Puranas are one and the same in purpose. They ascertain the absolute truth, which is greater than everything else. The absolute truth is ultimately realized as the absolute personality of Godhead with absolute controlling power. As such, the absolute personality of Godhead must be completely full of opulence, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Yet the transcendental personality of Godhead is astonishingly certain as impersonal.
The impersonal description of the absolute truth in the Vedas is given to nullify the mundane conception of the absolute whole. Personal features of the Lord are completely different from all kinds of mundane features. The living entities are all individual persons and they are all parts and parcel of the supreme whole. If the parts and parcel are individual persons, the source of their emanation must not be impersonal. He is the supreme person amongst all the creative persons.
I think we have this, but still this is important. So I'll read or I mean, we'll explain a little bit. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining this, right, about absolute truth, about the impersonal and personal philosophy here, right? So we know from Bhagavad Srimad Bhagavatam only, it will come in subsequent chapters. Vadanti tat tattva vedas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdev. So the three absolute truth are, I mean, there are three realization: the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. But all the three are referring to the one absolute truth, right? But these are the different level of understanding of the same absolute truth, or to understand the same supreme Brahman, right? But there is Brahman realization, then Paramatma realization, and Bhagwan. And Bhagwan realization is the supreme most realization, which is the personal form of the Lord, right? That he is the supreme person amongst all the relative persons. So Lord is supreme person. He is not imperson, right? So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is establishing here. Okay. So we'll continue. The Vedas inform us that from him, Brahman, everything emanates, and on him, everything rests. And after annihilation, everything merges in him only. Therefore, he is the ultimate dative, causative, and accommodating cause of all causes. And these causes cannot be attributed to an impersonal object. Right? Okay. Somebody else want to read online?
Prabhuji, shall I read?
Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am. One of you.
Myself, Prabhuji.
Okay, ma'am. You can read.
The Vedas inform us that he alone became many, and when he so desires, he glances over material nature. Before he glanced over material nature, there was no material cosmic creation. Therefore, his glance is not material. Material mind or senses were unborn when the Lord glanced over material nature. Thus, evidence in the Vedas prove that beyond a doubt of Lord has transcendental eyes and a transcendental mind. They are not material. His impersonality, therefore, is a negation of his materiality, but not a denial of his transcendental personality. Brahman ultimately refers to the personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman realization is just a negative conception of the mundane creations. Paramatma is the localized aspects of Brahman within all kinds of material bodies. Ultimately, the Supreme Brahman realization is a realization of the personality of Godhead. According to all evidence of the revealed scriptures, he is the ultimate source of Vishnu Tattvas.
Yeah, so here also again the same thing, right? So Brahman, we should understand the impersonal Brahman realization means the everything is means the Lord's we should understand that the spiritual effulgence is there, right? That impersonal Brahman is also coming from the Lord himself, but it is like the energy which is spreaded all over, right? And then Paramatma realization is means the localized aspects, means Paramatma residing in our heart, right? Localized means in every living entity, the Lord is residing. That what we that concept is called the Paramatma relation, basically the Atma and Paramatma. So Paramatma, this is coming in the Upanishads also, that there are two birds sitting on one tree, right? And one bird is enjoying the fruit and other one is just watching. So the one who is enjoying is the Atma.
Towards the other bird.
Yeah, the other one is Paramatma, who is watching that. So that's how this analogy is given in the Shastras. And then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? The Krishna, he's eternally reciting in his Goloka Vrindavan, right? So this aspect is the Bhagwan relation, where we can have the exchange, right? Our loving exchange with the Lord. So that place or that realization is the supreme realization. Okay, next, Kalpana, you can read.
Yeah, the Puranas are also supplementary to the Vedas. The Vedic mantras are too difficult for an ordinary man. Women, Sudras, and the so-called twice-born higher caste are unable to penetrate into the sense of the Vedas. And thus the Mahabharata and the Puranas are made easy to explain the truths of the Vedas. In his prayers, before the boy Sri Krishna, Brahma said that there is no limit to the fortune of the resident of Vrajabhumi, headed by Sri Nanda Maharaja and Yashoda Mai, because the eternal absolute truth has become their intimate relative. The Vedic mantra maintains that the absolute truth has no legs and no hands. It goes faster than all and accepts everything that is offered to him in devotion. The later statements definitely suggest the personal feature of the Lord, although his hands and legs are distinguished from mundane hands and legs or other senses. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah, so we should understand that Lord has this that personal form, and he has hands, legs, right? He can also smell, he can also sing, he can also feel, but his feeling, his senses are not material as ours, right? So we have Janm, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, right? These four things we are bound to have, right? We will have birth, we will have death, but Lord is not subject to all these things, right? He is the Swarat, he is the independent, right? And when Lord comes to this material world also, he comes in his spiritual form only, and that spiritual form is different. I mean, the form basically is he looks like human, or he looks like us, but he is not like us in the property, or in the field, basically in the he comes in his Satchidanand Vigraha form, right? We are also having Satchidananda form, but that is basically our soul. But that soul is covered with this material uh, body, this material environment. Because of that, we are covered. Our spiritual identity is covered. That's why we have to. We are different. Like this body and soul are two different identities. But Lord's soul and body is same. So Lord doesn't have any different soul and body concept. He is the same. He's the one supreme absolute truth. So his body and soul is non-different. So that's why he is in spiritual form only. Right? So when he comes here also, he is in spiritual form. So his legs, his hands. That's why when we offer to the food to the Lord, right? We say that he can accept even with the eyes. He can eat. So his senses can, one sense can act or can perform the things of other senses also. Like our senses, our eyes can only see, our eyes can't eat, right? But Lord's eyes can eat also. Lord's nose can smell, at the same time he can speak from the nose also, right? So this kind of understanding we should have, that Lord's senses are spiritual. Lord, but he has senses, right? But that is spiritual sense, and ours is material. So this distinction we should understand. Okay, we'll read next. Um,
Brahman, therefore, he is never impersonal. But when such mantras are indirectly interpreted, it is wrongly thought that the absolute truth is impersonal. The absolute truth personality of Godhead is full of all opulences, and therefore he has a transcendental form of full existence, knowledge, and bliss. How they how then can one establish that the absolute truth is impersonal?
Full existence, knowledge, and bliss. This is Sat, Chit, and Anand. Right? Sat means full existence, and Chit means knowledge, and Anand means bliss.
Prabhuji, yeah, we can't hear you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Madhuri. I was just explaining about the Satchid Anand, right? So Satchid Anand means the full existence, Sat, right? Sat means the full existence, the spiritual existence of Lord, the transcendental form. And Chit means the knowledge. He is in full knowledge. And Anand means the bliss. So this is what is given here in the English. Satchid Anand Vigraha, right? So we call it Satchid Anand. So
Brahman, being full of opulences, is understood to have manifold energies, and all the energies are classified under three headings under the authority of Vishnu Purana, now which says that the transcendental energies of Lord Vishnu are primarily three. The spiritual energy, the energy of the living entities are classified as superior energy, whereas the material energy is an inferior one, which is sprouted out of ignorance. Continue. The energy of the living entities is technically called uh, Kshetragya energy. This Kshetragya Shakti, although equal in quality of the Lord, becomes overpowered by material energy out of the ignorance and thus suffers all sort of material miseries. In other words, the living entities are located in the marginal energy between the superior spiritual and the inferior material energies. And in proportion to the living beings' contact with either the material or spiritual energy, the living entity is situated in proportionately higher and lower levels of existence.
yes, here what saying by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? That even living entity, we are also the part of spiritual world, right? Spiritual energy. But here now Mahaprabhu is explaining the different energy, right? So energy, superior energy, and marginal energy. So the energy, living entity basically is also supreme energy, but he is covered with the ignorance, the material energy. That's why he is suffering all kinds of material miseries also, right? So uh, we we are basically in the marginal, the spiritual energy is there and the inferior energy is there, and in between there is margin, basically the marginal energy where the living entity is coming. So living entity has tendency to go into the inferior energy, material energy also, and superior energy also. So living entity, if gets pure, or he himself tries make himself pure, so he can go to the spiritual world. And if he is bound with this material material energy or ignorance, so it is he's coming in the inferior energy. The Lord is the Lord is beyond the inferior and marginal energy as above mentioned, and his spiritual energy is manifested in three different phases as eternal existence, eternal bliss, and eternal knowledge. As far as eternal existence is concerned, it is conducted by the Sanidhini potency. Similarly, bliss, Sandhini potency. Sandhini. Similarly, bliss and knowledge are conducted by the Aladhani and Samvit potencies, respectively. As the supreme energetic Lord, he is the supreme controller of the spiritual, marginal, and material energy. And all these different types of energies are connected with the Lord in eternal devotional service. Yeah, so Lord Lord has these three spiritual energies basically, which means all energies are from Lord only, the spiritual and material, but the spiritual energy which is manifested in the Lord are are called these three Shaktis. What is that? Sandhini, Aladhini, and Samvit Shakti, so or some potency. So these Sandhini is conducted the eternal existence is referred as Sandhini potency, and bliss and knowledge are conducted by the Aladhini Shakti, and the Samvit potencies is for eternal knowledge. So can wait continue.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is thus enjoined in his transcendental eternal form. It is not astounding that one dares to call the Supreme Lord non-energetic. The Lord is the controller of all energies, and the living entities are part and parcel of one of the energies. Therefore, there is a gulf of difference between the Lord and the living entities. How then can one say that the Lord and the living entities are one and the same? In the Bhagavad Gita also, the living entities are described as belonging to the superior energy of the Lord. According to the principle of intimate correlation between the energy and the energetic, both of them are non-different also. Therefore, the Lord and the living entities are non-different as the energy and the energetic.
Yes, somebody wants to read? Yes.
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, and intelligence and ego are all inferior energies of the word of the Lord, but the living entities are different from all as superior energy. This is the version of Bhagavad Gita 7.4. The transcendental form of the Lord is eternally existent and full of transcendental bliss. How then can such a form be a product of the material mode of goodness? Anyone, therefore, who does not believe in the form of the Lord is certainly a faithless demon, and as such is untouchable and not to be seen persona non grata, fit to be punished by the Plutonic king. The Buddhists are called atheists because they have no respect for the Vedas, but those who defy the Vedic conclusions, as above mentioned, under the pretense of being followers of the Vedas, are verily more dangerous than the Buddhists. Hare Krishna.
Okay, I'll read,
Should I
Prabhuji.
continue?
Sri Vyasadeva, very
Any
kindly.
any question or comments till now, or we can continue?
No, Prabhu, it's very clear, no? Thanks.
Yes.
Sri Vyasadeva very kindly complies the Vedic knowledge in the Vedanta Sutra, but if one hears the commentation of the Mayavada school as represented by the Sankara Sampradaya, certainly he will be misled on the path of spiritual realization. The theory of emanations is the beginning subject of the Vedanta Sutra. All the cosmic manifestations or emanations from the absolute personality of Godhead by his inconceivable different energies. The example of the touchstone is applicable to the theory of emanation. The touchstone can convert an unlimited quantity of iron into gold, and still the touchstone remains as it is. Similarly, the Supreme Lord can produce all manifested world by his inconceivable energies, and yet he is full of and unchanged. He is Purna, complete. And although an unlimited number of Purnas emanate from him, he is still Purna. Shall I read the next one also, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mati, you can read.
The theory of illusion of the Mayavada school is advocated on the ground that the theory of emanation will cause a transformation of the absolute truth. If that is the case, Vyasadeva is wrong. To avoid this, they have skillfully taught in the theory of illusion, but the world or the cosmic creation is not false, as maintained by the Mayavada school. It simply has no permanent existence. A non-permanent thing cannot be called false altogether, but the conception that the material body is a self is certainly wrong.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So I would like all others also to participate in reading. Vedam Vani Mataji, you can read. Harita Mataji, you would like to read.
I'll continue.
All others are there or left?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. You can start, Mataji. Pranava Om.
Who? I'll read. Who's reading, Prabhuji?
Harita Mataji is reading, I think.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Pranava or the Omkara in the Vedas is the
Primeval.
trivial
Him.
this transcendental sound is identical with the form of the Lord. All the Vedic hymns are based on the Pranava Omkara. Tat Swa Asi is but a side word in the Vedic literatures, and therefore this word cannot be the
Primeval hymn of the Vedas.
Primeval.
Primeval hymns of the Vedas.
Vedas. Sripad Shankaracharya has given more stress on the word, side word, tat tvam asi, than on the primeval principle Omkara.
Prabhuji, I have one doubt.
Yes, madam.
Prabhuji, actually, Krishna took Buddhavatara to abolish the ahimsa. Yes, na Prabhuji?
Yes, madam.
Okay. And then at the simultaneously, he asked Shankara, that is Lord Shiva, to incarnate as Adi Shankara.
Yes, madam.
To establish Vedas. Then why they call the Shankara's this thing as Mayavada?
Nice question. So that is Mataji, like when there were so many hinsa, right? Or so many mass killing basically of animals were happening. So for that, Lord has given instructed came as a Buddha avatar, right? So so that time, because people are not in that mood to understand the Vedas, that's why, or they were doing actually a misuse of those Vedas, because in the Vedas, our scriptures, that fire, the animal sacrifice is also given. So in the animal sacrifice, but that is not for our sense enjoyment. It is for elevating them, the animal body to the human form of body, right? With the mantras. So, but people are not well equipped with those mantras, or very they were not that much qualified to perform that kind of yagya, and that's why they, and even they are not doing even yagya, they are just killing for their sense gratification, right? So that's why Buddha came and he just said that we don't follow the Vedas, we should understand this, that we should not kill the animals. So that ahimsa parodharma kind of philosophy he gave, right? So with this, so with this, at least people are coming into the mode of goodness, right? And then, so this is like evolving of the philosophy. Then after that, Shankaracharya came. So when Shankaracharya came, because Lord has to establish again the Vedic scriptures, the Vedas, right? Because those are the authorities, basically. The Veda is the authority, and for time being, it's fine that people, because they have started misusing the Vedas, that's why Lord Buddha has to come and establish this ahimsa thing, or he has to condemn the Vedas. But when Shankaracharya came, he has again came to establish the Vedas, the authority of the Vedas. But again, at that point of time, people are not very their consciousness not very high, that they can understand the living entity and supreme personality of Godhead. Basically, the Atma and Paramatma are two different things. So that's why when Shankaracharya came, he just uh, explained about the when basically he established the authority of the Vedas and its scriptures basically, and we should follow. And he said that Lord is there, and we can also become the Lord. Like we, the soul and super soul is one and the same. That's how he established.
Okay.
Because yeah, I mean, like you are only the God, so you should not kill like that. Or even if this is called in the Vedas, it is given that we should. We are that. This Tattvamasi is the. It means we are that. So we are that supreme Brahman. That's what he's saying. But
Mm.
Lord Chaitanya has explained in above so much this in the paragraphs, right? That
Mm.
the spiritual energy and the inferior energy and even the Lord, the Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan, that feature, and the Lord's feature and our feature. So basically, now this is again evolving. This philosophy is evolving, and we understand that Lord and living entity are two different entity. Even in the Vedas also it is given, right? The Upanishad, this analogy only I gave, this two birds sitting on the one tree, right? So that is given in the, uh, but when it is coming, uh, when Shankaracharya came, so he wanted to establish, he wanted to give little knowledge, not complete knowledge. Otherwise, people will again can misinterpret or
Misuse the same thing.
so that's why. So basically, the theory of this impersonalism is called the Mayavad. Basically, they are saying Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, right? So that's what the Shankaracharya philosophy. So Brahma means this Brahman or the spiritual world is the truth. That is the truth. That we also understand that is truth. But Jagat Mithya is we condemn. Basically, the Lord Chaitanya, our Vaishnava philosophy is not that Jagat is not Mithya means it's false. So Jagat means this material world. This is not false, but this is temporary. So this is the complete understanding that he has said that only the material world is false, but it is not false. We can see the material world also, and its existence is there, right? So material world is not false, but it is temporary. Yeah, so that is and Mayavad basically means that only that we are under the Maya, or so that's why that is there. We are under the Maya because Maya means that basically the in the material energy, right? So, but this this is like we are covered with Maya, and we can become Lord, or we can merge into existence of the Lord. That kind of philosophy is not recommended or not welcomed in the Vaishnava philosophy. So that's why we just wanted to become the servant of the Lord. We don't wanted to merge into the Lord. Or we don't wanted to, we don't wanted to become the Lord. That is like that is kind of ego. But we just wanted to be servant of the servant of the servant. So that's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then after Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya came, Madhvacharya came, Ramanujacharya came, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. So once basically Shankaracharya bring this philosophy of impersonalist, and then Ramanujacharya came and he says Vishishta Advait. So he is also saying that there is a supreme personality of Godhead and there is a living entity. But when Madhvacharya came, he emphasized, that time also Ramanujacharya is just, there is something else. Means a living entity and there is supreme entity. But when Madhvacharya came, so he emphasized like this only, that there are two entities only. So Dvaitism, basically, he brought it the two separate things, the living entity and supreme.
And Supreme Entity.
And then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he is explaining this everything, and then his philosophy will come later also, and he will explain that this is Achintya Bhed Abhed. So his philosophy is Achintya. Achintya means inconceivable. So we can't conceive from our this material senses. So Achintya means we can't conceive only. First of all, we should understand that we can't conceive the this philosophy or this understanding that Lord and living entities are different, or what is the position of Lord. So this is inconceivable only, but there is but we can understand through the Guru Parampara or Guru Shishya Parampara, right? So through our senior acharyas, how we can understand. So Achintya Bhed Abhed. So there is difference simultaneously. There is simultaneously oneness and difference in us and Lord himself, right? So we should understand that we as a living entity are in the quality wise the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Living Entity, right? We are also Satchidanand. That's what I was saying, right? But we are covered with the Maya, right? Or basically the in this material covering. But we are but we are in the quantity wise, we are the small quantity, right? Even if we are the spark of that supreme Brahman, right? Supreme absolute truth. We are not like generally we understand it with this analogy of sea water, right? Sea and the drop of that sea water, right? So sea water and the drop of sea water is same in the quality. The sea water is also salty, and that drop of that water is also salty. But the quantity wise, the sea water is huge, large in quantity. Right? The drop is very small quantity. Similarly, this huge ocean is like the supreme living entity, and the drop is us, the living entity. Right? He is the Vibhu, and we are the Anu. Right? So Anu means we are the just particle, right? We call ourselves as part and parcel of the Lord, right? So we are that part and parcel of the Lord, not the complete. That's why Lord is we are also in the same quantity as the same quality as the Lord, but not in the same quantity. Yeah. So this is how we should understand, and this is how the evolution of the philosophy, or basically the understanding, is evolving, right? We can understand one by one.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Such a nice question. I hope that is clear. So we can continue.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It's very much clear.
Okay. Yeah, you want to continue, Matil? The Lord thus spoke.
Me, Prabhuji. Okay. The
Yes,
Lord thus spoke on the Vedanta Sutra and defied all the propaganda of the Mayavada school. The Bhattacharyas tried to defend himself and his Mayavada school by jugglery of logic and grammar. But the Lord defeated him by his forceful arguments. He affirmed that we are all related with the personality of Godhead eternally, and that devotional service is our eternal function in exchanging the dealings of our relations. The result of such exchanges is to attain prema, or love of Godhead. When love of Godhead is attained, love for all other beings automatically follows, because the Lord is the sum total of all living beings.
Yeah. So this is what we were just discussing, right? But yes, Chaitanya is emphasizing. We are what is the result, or what is our basically the motive, or everything, right? To attain the prem or love of God. We wanted to become basically even this bhakti is translated by Srila Prabhupada is like not as devotion or not as service. It's called devotional service. Prabhupada has translated bhakti as in English as devotional service. Right? So we are here to serve. That is our purpose. That we should understand, that we are here to serve Lord and His devotees, and that is the purpose of our existence in spiritual world also. So that is how we should cultivate here. We wanted to serve more and more. We don't want it to become Lord. We don't want it to enjoy. We just wanted to serve. We just in that serving mode only we wanted to attain the love of God. We wanted to please the Lord.
Mhm.
And in his pleasing, so here you can understand that Lord is the sum total of all living entities. So when Lord is pleased, definitely all living entity can be pleased. Bhaktaram yaditapasam sarvalok maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatvam shakti. So Lord is the Bhaktaram, right? We should understand that he is the supreme Bhakta, beneficiary. So when he is satisfied, everyone is satisfied. Okay, we can continue. The Lord said that, but for these three items, namely eternal relation with God, exchange of dealing with Him, and the attainment of love for Him, all that is instructed in the Vedas is superfluous and concocted. The Lord further added that the Mayavad philosophy taught by Sripad Shankaracharya is an imaginary explanation of the Vedas, but it had to be taught by him because he was ordered to teach it by the personality of Godhead. In the Padma Puran, it is stated that the personality of Godhead ordered his lordship Shiva to deviate the human race from him, the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead was to be covered so that the people would be encouraged to generate more and more population. His Lordship Shiva said, Devi, in the Kali Yuga, I shall preach the Mayavad philosophy, which is nothing but clouded Buddhism in the garb of Brahman. So this is given in the Padma Puran, right? Mataji, what you were asking, same thing, and you are saying that Lord has only instructed him, the Lord Shiva, to come as Shankaracharya and deviate the person, the people in general, right? The Kali Yuga people, and he was not happy to do this, but it was instruction from the Lord. Shiva was not happy to do this, but because it is instruction from the Lord Vishnu, so he just performed that action, and he was saying in the Padma Puran only there is one shloka where Shiva is himself is explaining to Lord Sati, Parvati or Sati, that he will come in the Kali Yuga as Shankaracharya and he will preach the Mayavad philosophy. Okay. So basically that is, I mean, this question also comes that why there are so many things given in the even Vedas and even our scriptures that do this, that basically all the material things also is given. If you will do basically the karma kand. So with the karma kand, you will get some benefits, immediate benefit, or there are so many worships also given, even in our demigods worship or other things also given. It is given because all kinds of people are there in the world. It's not like everyone can take the devotional service. So this is we should understand, at least they can do some kind of pious activity, and they can understand or they can get this feeling that there is some supreme being. He is not himself is the supreme boss. There is something. Even demigods are like, they are also empowered by the Lord, but we can understand that they have some more power than us. So living being won't be in that illusion that he is the whole soul or he is the everything. Something is there. Like if he is worshipping Indra or Durga or whatever demigod also, it means they are somebody senior to me, or they have some power. So at least they can bestow us. So there are different kinds of this arrangement. But when we understand who is the supreme, and we don't want material benefit, we don't want it to worship anyone for material benefit, That will come automatically when we are worshipping the Lord Krishna. He knows what is required for us, what is not good for us. So he will give as a Supreme Father, right? So that will come, but we should understand who is the Supreme and who is the subordinate of that Supreme. Okay. After hearing all these speeches of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya was struck with wonder and awe and regarded him in dead silence. The Lord then encouraged him with assurance that there was no cause to wonder. I say that devotional service unto the personality of Godhead is the highest goal of human life. Right? This is to be noted and to be highlighted. I say that devotional service unto the personality of Godhead is the highest goal of human life. He then quoted a shloka from the Bhagavatam 1:7-10 and assured him that even the liberated soul who are absorbed in the spirit and spiritual realization also take to the devotional service of the Lord Hari, because the personality of Godhead has such transcendental qualities that he attracts the hearts of the liberated soul who will just go this Atmaranam Samunyo Arjun. Okay. This shloka is very nice. We'll just read the translation. Sud Goswami said, all different varieties of Atmarams, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self. Atmaram means those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self. Especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls.
Mhm.
So we'll continue. Yeah. Then the Bhattacharya desired to listen to the explanation of the Atmaram shloka from the Bhagavatam 1:17. The Lord first of all asked Bhattacharya to explain it, and after that he would explain it. The Bhattacharya then explained the shloka in a scholarly way with special reference to logic. He explained the shloka in 9 different ways, chiefly based on logic, because he was the most renowned scholar of logic of that time. The Lord, after hearing the Bhattacharya, thanked him for the scholarly presentation of the shloka, and then, at the request of the Bhattacharya, the Lord explained the shloka in 64 different ways, without touching the 9 explanations given by the Bhattacharya.
Mhm.
So Bhattacharya has given the explanation in 9 ways, but Lord has given the same shloka's explanation in 64 different ways. We'll read this. Prabhupada has explained in the purport also, I think. This is big purport. Big purport, this one, 170. So we'll read when we will continue this 7th chapter of this first canto, and we will understand. So 64 ways how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the same way. But he gave the 64 different ways of that shloka, the Atmaram, that word. He kept all the meaning surrounded with the devotional service, right? It's not like something else he is teaching. He's also whatever all the but he's giving the devotional service, right? Thus, after hearing the explanation of Atmaram Shloka from the Lord, the Bhattacharya was convinced that such a scholarly presentation is impossible for an earthly creature. Before this, Sri Gopinath Acharya had tried to convince him of the divinity of the Lord, but at the time he could not accept him. But the Bhattacharya was astounded by the Lord's exposition of the Vedanta Sutra and explanation of the Atmaram Shloka. And thus he began to think that he had committed a great offense at the lotus feet of the Lord by not recognizing him to be Krishna himself. He then surrendered unto him, repenting for his past dealing with him. And the Lord was kind enough to accept the Bhattacharya. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord manifested before him first as four-handed Narayan and then again as two-handed Lord Krishna with a flute in his hand. So here, see that the Bhattacharya, who was so much scholarly, he accepted his defeat now. When Lord, see, who can explain this Atmaram Shloka in 64 different ways? Only Lord himself. So this is how he's explaining that it is not possible for any earthly creature. And the Gopinath Acharya, who understood Lord Chaitanya as Krishna himself, he warned Bhattacharya, but that time he could not accept it. But when he had this the debate or this scholarly discussion with Lord Chaitanya himself, then he realized that he did great offense to the Lord Lotus feet, and then he accepted him as Lord Krishna, and then with causeless mercy of Lord Chaitanya has given his darshan to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So when we visited Puri, we went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya house also, right? So there we saw the Lord Chaitanya has shown the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya his form. So he four-handed form he showed, and then two-handed Krishna with flute in it. So this is confirmed, right? That Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he come in this Kali Yuga to deliver such Mayavadis such as Sripad, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and the people in general, the Kali Yuga people, those are very sinful. Like us, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to deliver us. And that's why we should follow the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, basically. Right? He gave in his 8 verses, right? Shikshashram. So it will come in the last of this introduction. We will discuss that time. So basically, Lord Chaitanya has given very simply how we can deliver, how we can be delivered from this material world, right? Simple process. What is that? Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama, Rama, Hare.
This is very simple process to chant and feel ourselves blessed that Lord Chaitanya is there to deliver us. And because today is Advaita Acharya's appearance, so Advaita Acharya, we should pray to him that because of him only Lord Chaitanya became. There is one reason, Lord Advaita Acharya, who is the elder in material calculation or in the age perspective, in material age perspective, he is the senior, or he is the elder than the other all 5 Panchtattva, means basically even Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he came well before to this material world. And who is the Advaita Acharya? Advaita Acharya is the combined form of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. So Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of Sadashiva and Mahavishnu. So he is the you can say Mahavishnu and Shiva both together. So he is also empowered Acharya, and he came from the Lord's instruction only in this material world, and he became the instrument to descend, to call Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to this material world and propagate the Harinam Sankirtan. Right? So Advaita Acharya, what he did to how he prayed, yeah. So he prayed. He has the Shila, Narasimha Shila, and he was worshipping that Narasimha with the Ganges of water, the Ganga water, and the Tulsi leaf. So with Tulsi leaf and Ganga water, he worshipped that Shaligram Shila every day, and he was praying intensely to Lordship to descend to this material world. And with his prayers, Lord descends on the Gaur Purnima day, right? And so the Purnima is coming, right? So before that, Nityanand Prabhu. So see, today is Advaita Acharya's appearance day, and then next, the 3rd of February, we have Nityanand Trayadashi, Nityanand Prabhu descend, and then after that, Gaur Purnima, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, Gaurang Mahaprabhu's appearance in the March. So 3rd February. So there will be some program, I think, centrally in our center or somewhere. That will be on 4th. The program will be on Saturday. But Nityanand Trayadashi is on 3rd, so there will be fasting also. Nityanand Trayadashi fasting till noon only. I'll need a post that. So I mean, with New Year, all the new all the festival started. So start with this. Even 26 February, 26 January, the Basant Panchami, just 2 days back only. That was also very nice festival, and there are so many appearance and disappearance of acharyas on the same day, right? So all the acharyas, I mean, these appearance and disappearance day is basically for us to pray intensely to them. On those days, basically, they are more merciful. So we can pray to them for our devotional service, for our progress in bhakti, right? So that we can be steady, we can be fixed in our devotional service, and we can attain the love for God, right? We can have some love for the chanting, so that we can be purified. Chanting is the process of purification, and with that only, when we become the pure, then only we can go to the spiritual world. So that's how, I mean, we should pray to the acharyas, and the Lord Nityanand Prabhu's appearance is coming. So again, we have opportunity to pray with him, pray to him, and then Lord Chaitanya, and then so many festivals are coming. Okay, so I think okay, we'll read, I think, few things here. The Bhattacharya at once fell down at the lotus feet of Lord and composed many suitable shloka in praise of the Lord by his grace. He composed 100 shloka in praise of the Lord. The Lord then embraced him, and out of transcendental ecstasy, the Bhattacharya lost consciousness of the physical state of life. Tears, trembling, throbbing of the heart, perspiration, emotions, waves, dancing, singing, crying, and all the 8 symptoms of trance were manifested in the body of Bhattacharya. Sri Gopinath Acharya became very glad and astonished by this marvelous conversation of his brother-in-law by the grace of the Lord. Out of the 100
Prabhuji, I need to leave, Prabhuji. Can I leave?
Yes, Mataji, no problem. We are almost done. We'll just.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Out of the 100 celebrated shlokas composed by the Bhattacharya in praise of Lord, the following 2 are most important, and these 2 shlokas explain the mission of the Lord in gist. We'll just read these 2 shlokas meaning, and then we will close till here, and that will continue. Let me surrender unto the personality of Godhead who has appeared now as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the ocean of all mercy and has now come down to teach us material detachment, learning and devotional service to himself. Since pure devotional service of the Lord has been lost in the oblivion of time, the Lord has appeared to renovate the principles, and therefore I offer my obeisances unto his lotus feet. So these are 2 prayers basically 100 prayers, 100 shlokas he composed, the Bhattacharya. The Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's shlokas are there, which we have just read, these two, and which are explaining the mission of Lord. That's what Prabhupada is explaining here. So Bhattacharya understood why Lord has come, Lord Chaitanya here. So the Lord explained the word mukti to be equivalent to the word Vishnu, or the personality of Godhead. The Lord then proceeded to the Lord explained the word mukti to be equivalent to the word Vishnu, or the personality of Godhead. To attain mukti or liberation from the bondage of material existence is to attain to the service of the Lord. So mukti, basically liberation, is also in terms of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's definition. And for Vaishnava, liberation does not mean removing ourselves from the bondage of material existence, but to attain the service of the Lord, right? To serve, basically, to get the love of Godhead. That is the mukti. That is, even in this regard, many acharyas are praying, even if they have to go to hellish planet also, but if Lord desire there, and if they have some service to do for Lordship, or to propagate this Mahaprabhu's mission, even in hellish planet, they are ready to go. So they don't want liberation. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also prays this. We will discuss that he don't want liberation, but he want service to the Supreme Lord. Even anywhere, if we are working a devotional service. Okay, so from here the Lord then proceeded to South India Yatra. Sometimes this we will read next time. Still we have to cover a lot, so we'll try to have this, like next Saturday again we will have Nityananda Praveshi Festival, so we may not have this class, but we'll try if we can have on Sunday, next Sunday. Otherwise we'll continue from next to next Saturday, and try to come on these festival programs. Basically everyone who are in Bangalore, at least they can join, they can plan their other things around this. Otherwise we are not getting the association. It's very difficult. After Corona, everyone is very happy in online thing, but that won't sustain a long, right? For long run, we need devotees association, personal association. We need to meet, we need to discuss. So that's why we want to have this personal Bhakti association only, so that we can have more interaction, more personal discussion. Okay. So with this, I think we can stop, or we can pause here for this week, and we'll meet next week. Okay. So
Yes, Prabhu.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.